Recordings in progress. Okay, so we're talking buyers. Buying 101, working with buyers 101. I have a lot to go over. There's no way I'm going to get through all of this in one class. So I might do next week part 2 or something along those lines. I don't know. Be on the lookout. But let's go ahead and get started with this. I always like to start working with buyers 101 on this particular topic, which is the mindset on working with buyers. Because generally speaking, when we get buyer leads or we talk about buyers, do we usually talk about buyers with a ton of excitement and energy? No, we don't. And I'm not here to tell you that you shouldn't go get listings, okay? But sometimes our mindset of working with buyers is so poor, that's what leads to our poor relationship with buyers, our poor performance with buyers. So let me dive into that a little bit more. When you're, this is my favorite line, when you're cashing a check at the bank, when you're cashing a commission check at the bank, does the bank charge you a fee if that commission check came from a buyer transaction? No. Okay. So the commission's going to work the same either way. They don't go, oh, I was a buyer. Sorry, there's a bank policy. We're gonna have to deduct some money here. Okay. Does Mike Ferry care if the money you use from coaching come from buyers or sellers? No, he just wants his $1,000 every month. Okay, or Tom Ferry or Brian Buffini or whoever you're coaching with, they don't care. They want their money every month. So, but yet here's what happens. I go through this all the time. Someone says, Robert, I got a lead. Great, tell me about it. It's a listing lead. Wow, tell me about it. Well, it's been expired 3 times, and they want $50,000 above what the house is worth. But gosh, I'm so excited. Okay, and then I'll go, and then you'll go, oh, I also got another lead, but you know, it's a buyer. They're qualified, motivated. They sent me their pre-approval letter. They want to go see property tomorrow. So you'll be over the moon for a 3-time expired $50,000 over market value listing lead, but will instantly drop your tone with a qualified, motivated, I want to go see property tomorrow buying lead. Makes no sense. No sense whatsoever. But we do that because our mindset of the buyers is so poor. So let's jump into this next point. Have you ever heard the term buyers are liars? Have you ever said the term buyers are liars? All right, let me help you here. Stop saying buyers are liars. Now, I get it. It's nice. It's cool because it rhymes. Robert, it rhymes. It's so cool. Buyers are liars. Yeah. Okay, well, think about this. Number 1, that's a negative thought. How much success are you going to have with a client if you're going in with a negative thought about them? Probably not very good. Number 2, that's a poor outlook on somebody that could make you $10,000 in the next 30 days. There's a possibility that a buyer could get into escrow and get you paid. Yes? Yes. Okay, great. And that's worth $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, even on a low commission, even if it's only 2%, something like that. I mean, the average, I just did the county reports for those of you that haven't checked your emails yet for our company. I sent out the county reports. If you're not with our company, let me know. I'll send you a copy. It's LA, San Bernardino, Orange, and Riverside County. So if you work out of those counties, I can't help you. But the average price in Los Angeles County was over $1 million, actually in LA and Orange County. So $1 million, even if you only got 2% on the buyer side, that's 20 grand. What a poor outlook to look on somebody that can make you 20 grand. Third, most buyers are actually not liars. They know what they want. They just don't know. They don't qualify for it. So most buyers think they can qualify for $1 million house at the beach. But if you don't do a buyer consultation to figure out what they really want, get a pre-approval letter or a proof of funds to see what they qualify for, then it's your fault if they don't like the properties you show them. And it's your fault if you show them a property they don't qualify for. See, the buyer wasn't a liar. The agent was just lazy. I showed this buyer the property and God, they didn't like it. Okay, did you do a consultation to find out what they really want? No. Or yeah, I did. They told me they wanted a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house up to 650, a 10-mile radius of Covina. Pfft, I found one. Don't blame it on the buyer. If you show them a property that they didn't like and you did a terrible consultation or didn't do a consultation at all. Don't blame it on the buyer if you show them a property that they don't qualify for. You need to get a pre-approval letter. You need to get approved funds. Well, they told me they qualified for this. Do they have it on paper? No, then that's your fault. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just being honest here. Your mindset sometimes with these clients is so poor instead of just taking responsibility for yourself. So I always start with this with the buyers because typically we get into buyers and buyers and this and that. And I get it. Buyers can be tough. They can be draining, but it's your fault if you're working with an unqualified, unmotivated buyer. It's your fault if you're showing properties that they don't like. You have to do this kind of work. They weren't a liar. You just didn't do what you were supposed to do. Okay. So I wrote down here next, okay, on the mindset of working with buyers. Don't buy into the idea that there's no skill required to work with a buyer. Don't buy into the idea that there's no skill required to work with a buyer. So let me ask you this, be honest. Is it easier to get a buyer contract signed than it is to get a listing contract signed? Is it easier to get a buyer than it is a listing? Yeah, right? It's easier to get a buyer lead than it is to get a listing, right? Listings are hard. But it's harder to get a buyer closed than it is to get a listing closed, right? If you have a listing, you're going to get it closed. If you have a buyer, are you guaranteed to get that buyer closed? No. So it's easier to get a buyer than it is to get a listing, but it's harder to get a buyer closed than to get a listing closed. Now, let's be honest here. If you get a listing, after you get the listing, is it a lot of skill to get it closed? Once you get the listing, is there a lot of skill involved to get the listing closed after you have the listing? No. I mean, not in this market. You get the listing, you put it on the MLS, you sit in your chair, you go around in a couple circles, you come back, hey, 18 offers, fantastic. Whew. Oh man, that was tough. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, look what I did. Look what I did. I got you 18 offers. Okay. Getting the listing is hard, but once you get it, come on, it's not hard. But if you get a buyer who's motivated, qualified, submitting offers, you're going to have some skill in getting that offer accepted. You're going to need to be able to work the listing agent. You're going to need to know what's other offers might be going on. You're going to need to talk to the buyer about the counter offers, waiving the contingencies, okay, things along those lines. You're going to have to coach the buyer on what kind of offer to write up. There's a lot more skill involved in doing that. So don't get into the idea of that there's no skill with working with a buyer. Yeah, it's easier to get a buyer lead, but there is a lot of skill in finding out if they're motivated, finding out if they're qualified, and getting their offer accepted. See, sometimes we don't work with buyers so well because in our minds, we're convinced there's no skill with working with them. So we treat it like it's a non-skilled type of transaction. So we don't take it seriously. Well, crazy. Crazy. I wrote down here next. When working with a buyer, this is very, very, very important. If you get nothing else out of today, this might be your most important point. Always remember to look at things from the eyes of the buyer, not the eyes of your bank account. Always remember to look at things from the eyes of the buyer, not the eyes of your bank account. Be honest. Have you ever worked with a buyer and then said, God, just buy a house already? Yes. I see 2 people telling the truth and 25 liars.
We do it all the time.
I see Tyrone and Miguel admitting to it and 25 other people lying.
It's hard, man.
Just buy a house already so we can move on. We've said it. We've said it, present company included. Okay. We've all
game to
said
watch
it.
Sunday.
We've all said it. Right? We're thinking about our time, our bank account. We're not, but we have to look at things from their perspective sometimes. Is buying a house a very stressful situation? Yes or no? Yes, absolutely. 100%. Now, what's the number one reason why it's very stressful for a buyer to buy a house? What's the number one reason? It's the number one reason why it's so stressful. Anybody want to take a guess?
Making sure the offer is accepted.
Okay, accepted. Lack of communication. I see that in the chat box.
It's a bigger commitment now.
Affordability.
We're getting there. And Priscilla has it. It's a lot of money. But here's what's more important. It's probably all of their money. That's what you have to get. For most buyers, this is all the money they have. If it's a first-time buyer, it's almost guaranteed it's all the money they have. I mean, they've been saving $100 a month for years to try to scrounge up 12 grand, 15 grand, 20 grand to use as a down payment. They've been cutting little things here and there to try to save up a few bucks, right? They've worked hard to try to do all this while they're paying these $2,500, $3,000 rent payments and things like that, living in Southern California or wherever you might be. Some of you might be elsewhere. Okay. Northern California, California in general, it's not cheap. But even if they're using their equity from their home, we think, well, gosh, they're making $200,000 on the sale of their home. But let me ask you this. They're getting $200,000 from the sale of their home. Do people who have $200,000 in equity, do they have $200,000 also in the bank?
Oh,
No. They have $200,000 in equity and a couple grand in the bank. Their money is the equity. That's all they have. So it's a lot of money, but it's typically all of their money. So they're stressed out. And you know what? Here's the key. They have a right to be. How would you feel if you worked so hard to build up something that was about to disappear in seconds? I've worked hard and hard to get this 20 grand. And now you're telling me I'm going to hit this wire button and that 20 grand is gone. Oh, you ever seen that happen to your bank account? Remember, for those of you that remember when you bought your first house and you were so excited with how much money was in your account, and then you hit the wire button for your earnest money deposit and you just saw your account shrink. Did you not have like a little bit of a hole in your chest when that happened? And you're like, ooh, that stings.
Gigantic hole.
Right? So you have to understand where they're coming from, right? Even if it's going towards homeownership, there's a small amount of anxiety. So if you don't recognize that and you just see them as a paycheck, this is going to be hard for you. They have a right to be stressed. This is why they're stressed. You have to accept that and look at things from their eyes, which goes back into you can't get frustrated when they're, a little bit hesitant. Oh my gosh, you want me now in this market? Now think about this. They've got all this money tied up, and now they're already stressed. They're already under anxiety because they just saw their earnest money deposit flatten their account. And now you come to them and say, I need you to put $20,000 above the list price. Are they going to stress out even more? Yeah, 100%. So you have to look at things here. We're going to get into some more skills stuff here in a minute, but we've got to start with the mindset on working with buyers, because if you can't grasp some of these things with working with buyers, you're always going to fail with buyers. It's just the way it is. It's a highly emotional, highly stressful situation, and you're just, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Ugh. It's never going to work. So you have to accept this stuff from the beginning. I wrote down here, buyers are going to need a lot of hand-holding. They're going to need a lot of hand-holding. They need to know somebody is looking out for them. That they need to know somebody's protecting their savings. So what they don't need is somebody getting irritated with them, because that just adds to their stress, which typically leads them to shut down. Have you ever been working with a buyer and then all of a sudden they disappear?
Yep.
Yep.
Are you
Yep.
are you going to be okay if I'm honest with you right now, or are some of you going to leave the company?
I might get off with a Zoom call. We will be back tomorrow. Exactly.
Go ahead.
If they're
be
not,
honest.
if they
That's why
stop
we're here.
responding to you, if they disappeared, it was probably something that you did. You didn't communicate properly with them.
That's me.
You showed your irritation, and they picked up on it, and they said, well, I don't want to work with someone who's irritated. I don't want to work with someone who's not looking out for my best interest. Can you tell when somebody's irritated? If you're having a conversation, can you tell when somebody's, yeah, of course you can. Of course you can. If you've ever had a one-on-one meeting with Mike Ferry, you can definitely tell he's irritated with you, or maybe that's just me. He just looks at me and shakes his head in disappointment. Different story, I guess.
Or if you're married.
I wasn't going to do it. I wasn't going to do it. I wasn't going to do it. But the point is, you can pick up on it, which means that the buyer can also pick up on it if you're irritated with them. So you have to watch your personality. You have to watch how you're handling things. Okay. I wrote down here, don't get mad when they ask a lot of questions or second guess their decision, because that's part of the process. Okay. Very important stuff. So now that, before we move on, questions at all on mindset stuff, working with buyers, before we get into more, now I've got the lead, what do I do? Questions on any of that stuff? All right, very good.
No question, but I can definitely validate what you're saying. I'll go out on the limb and just tell you, I experienced all that pain, buddy. Trust me. You're absolutely 100% right.
Yep. Yeah. Look at it. It's the way it is. It's the way it is. You know, if you really want to test this theory out, go buy a house, but don't represent yourself. Go buy a house, don't represent yourself, and have another agent represent you, and go through the process.
You kidding? Believe it or not, that's why I got my real estate license.
There's a lot of people. There's actually a lot of people. That's how Melinda got her license. Melinda moved here from Wisconsin, bought a house. The buyer's agent was so terrible, and yet she thought she looked at the statement and was like, God, my buyer's agent was terrible. And then she made that much money. And at the time she was working and doing backstage of plays, theater. So she was making 30 grand a year. She saw how much her buyer's agent made for being a terrible buyer's agent. She said, I'm going to go get my real estate license. 17 years later, $1 million. Pretty wild. So yeah, a lot of people run into that situation. But go buy a house. You know, you'll go through that same process and you're going to have to go pay above list price and you're going to have to make those decisions. Interesting stuff. Okay, so let's get into the next thing here. What happens when you get a buyer lead? What happens when they get a buyer lead? Okay, I wrote down here first, you have to do a consultation. You have to do a buyer's consultation. Now, I used to say you had to do the consultation in the office. Given the state of the world right now and what we have with virtual stuff, you could do it virtually if that makes it at all better. I would highly, highly, highly recommend you don't do a consultation over the phone. Do a consultation where you can see each other. Okay, whether that be in person at your office or on some sort of virtual platform like Zoom, Google Hangouts, Teams, whatever the case may be. Okay, get the face-to-face interaction, but you have to do a consultation. The consultation has to be extremely thorough. If you've never done a buyer consultation, let me know. I will send you a consultation that I put together that goes into very, very details. Okay, I'm not going to get too detailed on what the consultation right now. We could do that another day. But the consultation has to be extremely thorough. I wrote down here next, all decision makers have to be present at the consultation. All decision makers have to be present at the consultation. So let me ask you this. Is it possible that somebody could be single and there be another decision maker?
Yes.
Find out. Find out who the decision makers are. Oh, I'm buying the house by myself. That's great. Is there anyone else involved in the decision-making process, such as a parent, such as a friend of yours, a fiance, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a financial advisor? Is there anyone else involved in the decision-making process? Oh yeah, my dad's going to be helping me out because he's giving me the down payment. Great. Can he be on the consultation as well? I just want to make sure he's on board. Do not believe them when they say, oh, but they're not going to be involved in the decision-making process. They just want to go see the homes with me. Don't do it. Don't do it. And don't ever assume just because they're not married or engaged to be married that the boyfriend, girlfriends aren't involved in that as well. Okay? Even if they're just buying a house by themselves. Okay? Are there other people involved? Get all the decision makers. They have to be present. Set the expectation you get, okay? You set the expectation of the market, under promise, over deliver. Set the expectation of the market with a buyer. So give me an example. If you're telling a buyer right now, what's one of the expectations of the market? Give me an example.
Writing over asking price.
Overpriced.
You might have to go over price. Should you tell them that day one or
Yes.
right when they're writing up an offer?
Day one.
Day one.
Oh,
Day one.
Day one,
why? Why?
You're setting
set the
it.
expectation early.
Set the expectation early, but why and why else? There's two reasons. Set the expectation and why else?
Sure, they have extra money.
So they have extra money. Okay, what else?
To see if they're willing to do it, and if they're not
There
willing
it
to do
is, to see if they're willing to do it. Because what you don't want to do is get a buyer, do research, find a bunch of properties, go out, show them property, and then have them write up an offer and to say, well, look, this house has 8 offers. You're going to have to probably go about $30,000 above list price. And they go, are you nuts? There is no way in hell I'm doing that. And now you just had all that time wasted. So you're setting the expectation of the market. You're giving them the idea of how much money they're going to need, but also you're finding out if they want to play the game. This is really key. This is really, really key point, what I'm about to say here. You need to find buyers that have a winning mentality. You need to find buyers that have a winning mentality. Because in this market, if you do not have a winning mentality, you will not win the property. It just won't happen. So you need to let them know what's going on. You need to set that expectation of the money. Okay. Because you need them to go, yeah, no problem. Let's do it. Let's make it happen. You want this house? I want this house. Let's go. You need that type of mentality, not the, well, let's just see what happens. Nope. No way. What's another example of setting the market expectation? What's something else you could tell a buyer right now, setting the market expectation?
The time it's going to take them to get an offer accepted.
Time is going to take them to get an offer accepted. So it might take you a few homes type of thing.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. or Miss Buyer, I got it. Look, I don't want you to get frustrated if we don't get the offer accepted on your first property. Okay. If we do, that's great. But we might have to go see 2 or 3 properties. We might have to write up 2, 3, 4 offers. But our goal is to help you find the right property. Sure.
The other big one is closing costs.
Closing costs. Yeah. I'm pre-approved for $600,000. Great. What's your down payment? 5%. Okay, great. Do you have money for closing costs? Did the lender go over that with you? Nope. I have exactly 5% in the bank.
They
Okay.
told me to just go find a house.
Give me your lender's number so I can call them and curse them out. And say, I can't believe you gave me a pre-approval letter for a client that's not pre-approved. Learn how to do your job or go buy a how-to book and get someone else in the industry.
Hey, Robert,
Yes.
just give me a script. You are with a buyer, waiting online to show a property. Look like it's about 15 people online. You are number 10, and I'm waiting to get there. And the buyer asks you, do you think the seller will take less? Give me your script.
Well, so it depends. It depends, number one. So I would look at the situation. I would say, well, Michael, here's the deal. I'll obviously look at the comps for you and see based on the comps what this property might go for. Okay, that's number one. But if there's 15 people waiting to see the property, let me ask you, and I would throw it back at them. Let me ask you, if there's 15 people looking at one property, what are the chances that everyone's going to bid under? Well, not very likely. Exactly. So are you willing to go at least list price, possibly over, to get yourself in the game? No. Okay. Then let's not even go see it. But I would just put it back on that. But I'm going to say that first part just so they know that I'm on their side. Because the truth is, we have listings. Believe it or not, we have listings that are overpriced and do end up selling for under list price. Because we will take listings overpriced. And we have listings that have had 8, 9, 10 offers, or not 10 offers, 8, 9, 10 showings and no offers. So it is possible that there are 15 people to go see a property and no one will put in an offer because it'll be too overpriced. Now it's not likely. So that's why that's why I would say the first part is, my job is to run some comps to see what the home would sell for, to see if maybe it is overpriced. But based on that, that's how I would go with that.
Oh, thank you, Robert. So my script is, I'm going to leave it wandering and I'm going to be running back to the office. Thank you very much.
That works too. That works too.
I guess you could say that's another one of your bullet points during your your consultation, to make sure that they know this is what you can expect. Here's a list of all of these things that you can expect as a buyer before you even show them the first house.
Yep. Yeah, that's it. So you have to set the expectation of the market, under promise, over deliver. Here's another example. When a listing hits the market, does it typically go off the market relatively quickly?
In this market?
Yes.
Okay, great. So here would be an expectation. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, Part of our expectation of this market is homes are selling very quickly. I'm sure you've seen that. So what that means is that if I find a home that fits your criteria, I need to know that you're going to be available within 48 hours to go see it. Does that work? And then after we see it, I'm going to need to know, I'm going to ask you to write up an offer within 24 hours of seeing it. Does that work? And if they say, well, no, that's too fast. I mean, you know, we'll go see it, you know, on weekends. And when we see a property, we're not just going to rush into it. We're going to take our time. We're going to do this. And you might have to tell them, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, I got to be honest with you. This might not be your market. Because if a property hits the market Monday and it's priced right in a good neighborhood and it's in good condition, which you're looking for, if we wait a week to go see it, it's not going to happen. Or if we go see it and you wait a week to write up an offer, it's not going to happen. I wish it were different, but that's the way it is. So that's part of setting the expectation for them. Okay. And so again, if they don't want to play the game, now here, let me hold on one second, Michael. Here's something really, really important. If they don't want to play the game, don't get mad. Don't get frustrated. It's their right to not want to do this. This is a lot to deal with a buyer. So you say that to a buyer and the buyer says, you know what, this market isn't for me. I get it. Not a problem whatsoever. Tell you what, here's what I'll do. I'm monitoring the market on a daily rate. If I see any changes, if I see any shifts coming, I'll definitely give you a call so we can, you know, look at things from that perspective. Sound good? Good. I'm not going to go like, well, fine, get out of here then. You should actually be thanking them that they agreed that, yeah, this is not their market. And they were honest with you up front. Great. We just saved a bunch of time. Michael, go ahead.
No, you just answer it, because many times you say that and they said, well, we are not in a rush to buy, or we can wait, or they saying, you know, we don't like the pressure. And when they say that, that's when you got to tell them what the game plan is, because you're not going to waste the whole Sunday for somebody that is not motivated.
That's it. Yeah. We're not in a rush. We can take our time. Okay, great. Well, let's talk a little bit more about that. Here's what it's going to take to buy a house today. Are you okay with that? Does that fit within your not in a rush parameters? Yeah, that's fine. I mean, if we find a house we like, we'll put an offer on it immediately, you know, but we're not in a have to buy situation. Okay, that's different than no, we're going to take our time. We're not going to be rushed into anything. All right, then you move on. Very good. All right, I wrote down here next, get them to sign the buyer broker agreement. Get them to sign a buyer broker agreement. I know this is hard for some of you. I still don't understand why you can very easily ask a seller to sign a listing agreement with you, but you can't get a buyer to do it. Okay. They sign a buyer broker agreement. Now they can only sign a buyer broker agreement if you do a full consultation. You can't, oh, I'm interested in buying a house. Great. Sign this agreement. Oh, hold on a second here. Buy me a drink first. You know, I mean, what are we doing here? Right? But do a full consultation, and then you treat the consultation just like the listing presentation. So after you go through the consultation, okay, great. So Mr. and Mr. Buyer, when do you want to go see homes? Monday at 4? Great. All we need to do now is simply sign this contract so that I can help you get what you want, the time that you want. Won't that be great? Sign the contract. And instead of the listing agreement, it's the buyer broker agreement. You treat it the same way. No need to get flustered about it. Okay. Now what are they going to say?
The other agent didn't have me sign nothing.
Okay, great. So let me ask you, do you want an agent that's 100% committed to helping you purchase a home?
That's right.
Yes, great. Would you agree that in order for me to be truly 100% committed to helping you purchase a home, I would need you to be 100% committed to me? Yes, great. And let's sign the agreement so we can start working towards finding you a home.
You know, when they say I have an agent in each county and whoever find it first, I'll buy one. Like they have agents in different counties. Sometimes they say that.
Okay. So let me ask you this, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer. If every county had the same exact house for sale for the same exact price, which one would you buy? Well, I would buy the one in Orange County. Great. You know what my recommendation is? Go work with the agent in Orange County, unless you're the agent in Orange County. Go work with the agent in Orange County. Clearly, that's the county your number one priority is. Go find a home there. That's what I would do. But if they say, well, Orange County, and I'm the Orange County agent, well, then great. Why are you even working with agents in other counties if Orange County is where you want to be? Let's get you into a house. Okay. So get them to sign the buyer broker agreement. After that, set a date to go see properties before the meetings is over. Okay. And if they haven't been pre-approved, they have to get pre-approved before you go show property. But they're paying cash. Get proof of funds. Now, these people are rich, Robert. Get proof of funds. They drive around in Bentleys. Get proof of funds. They're my mother. Get proof of funds.
You are the proof of funds.
Right. Come on. You know? I mean, I hear this all the time. And all of you are saying to yourself, well, I would never do that, Robert. I would never show property to someone who didn't have a pre-approval letter. And yet I hear it every week on coaching calls. Oh, I took a buyer out. Great. Did they write up an offer? Well, we have to get their approval letter. Come on.
Wow.
Well, they're rich. They have proof of fund. They have money. Okay, great. Do they show it? And then all of a sudden you write up an offer and they say, oh, well, I'm still waiting for it to come over from overseas, or I have to sell some stuff first, or, you know, I got to get my business partner involved. I hear it all every week. Stop showing property to people that don't have a pre-approval letter or proof of funds. You are killing yourselves by doing that. Yes, Marticela, even doctors are unable to qualify. Doctors are the worst with their credit. For those of you who have ever worked with doctors, doctors make a bunch of money and have terrible credit because they just get so busy they forget to pay things. It's true. True story. Okay. They have to get pre-approved. Now, here's a little trick. We're going to wrap up here with a couple things. Okay. Here's a little trick to get somebody pre-approved if they haven't gotten pre-approved yet. You do the consultation. They get all excited. You paint the perfect house for them. Wow, Mr. and Miss Fire, it sounds like we got this really great house. I mean, I can't wait to go see them. How about this? You know, it's Wednesday. What if we go see some properties on Saturday? You want to go see some properties on Saturday? Oh, that would be great. Absolutely fantastic. They're all excited. They're all buzzed. All right, here we go. Before we show property on Saturday, though, I just need your pre-approval by 2 o'clock on Friday. So now they have a deadline. I can't go Saturday unless I get them this by Friday at 2 o'clock. They have a deadline to get it, but they're excited for Saturday. So now they'll get it done by Friday. If they're not excited about Saturday, if you just say, okay, well, let me see what's available, and then I'll let you know if anything's available. But can you go get pre-approved? Oh, yeah, I'll work on it. There's no excitement. There's no deadline. Get them excited about going to see property, pick a day. And then the day before, 24 hours before, that's their deadline to get you a pre-approval. If they don't have the pre-approval 24 hours before you go see property, cancel the showings. Cancel the showings. You have to be valuable with your time. And you can't time block Friday from 2 to 4 to go show property and they don't have their pre-approval by Thursday. No, then take that 2 to 4 slot and time block it for something else. Either another showing, some more prospecting, previewing, but don't time block somebody if 24 hours before they don't have a pre-approval or proof of funds. You have to manage your time better. Okay.
But Robert, this sounds so nice. I asked them if they have a good credit and they say yes. I believe them.
No. Look, it's just everybody is different. Here's the thing. We've all been through this. Buyer tells us they want to buy a house that's, you know, I've told this joke back up. I've told this joke many times before. Years ago when I was a lender, we had our office in Beverly Hills, and I would have people come into the office to meet me when we were doing their pre-approval. And every single time As they're pulling out their tax returns, I would ask the question, where are you looking to buy? Oh, Beverly Hills, Brentwood, Palisades. All right, all the wonderful cities. And then they would hand me their tax returns, and I would look at their tax returns, and I would look at them and go, like a tree house in Beverly Hills, or what specifically were you looking for? Everybody swears they can get the $1 million house, the big house, whatever the case may be. And then you say, based on your tax returns, you qualify for 500 grand. And if you want a Beverly Hills size house for 500 grand, you're gonna have to go out of state, like way out of state, like Nebraska out of state, you know, for that size of a house. But they all think that they can qualify for more, or that they should be able to get more. So that's why we say, no matter how much they say they qualify for, what they think they qualify for, how much money they have, I don't believe it until a lender has looked at it, reviewed the tax returns, given you a pre-approval, or you have some sort of proof of funds, because they'll just, some of them are just fluffing and they want to go, they know they can't qualify for that house, but some of them really don't know. They really think that they can qualify, maybe not. I mean, I'm exaggerating when they think Beverly Hills and it's, 500,000, but they do think they can qualify for 700,000 and they end up qualifying for 500,000. That happens all the time. That's why you got to be very careful out there. Very, very careful. All right, last thing and then we'll wrap up here because it's already 1 o'clock. Last thing I'll write down here. We'll finish up on pre-approval letters. This is something that is not, we don't see as much anymore because lenders are getting a little bit smarter. But a lot of pre-approval letters are good for 90 days. Okay. This is really, now this is something I say before. I'm not trying to be mean. Okay. This is, but I'm going to get a little vulgar. 90-day pre-approval letters are crap. I didn't curse. I just said crap. Give me some credit. Okay. They're crap because the rate is not locked when they get a pre-approval letter. And which means they get a pre-approval letter. It's good for 90 days. And you say, okay, great. And then what have interest rates been doing? What have interest rates been doing? Somebody.
Shooting up.
They're going up. So 90 days ago, they qualified for $550,000, first-time home buyer at 3.75% interest rate. They got a 90-day pre-approval letter. You're out showing them property. Now today, you get an offer accepted. Guess what? The interest rate is 4%. And they don't qualify for 550 no more. They qualify for 525, which means you have a dead deal. So you can't, when you see a pre-approval letter and it's 90 days ago, 60 days ago, no. Go back to your lender. You don't need to get your credit run again. This is their big fear, that my credit's going to get run again. No. I don't need your credit run again. I just need you to go to them and say, hey, look, has anything changed in interest rates, guidelines, anything like that? Do I still qualify for this? Because I need to update my pre-approval letter. Because I'm telling you, interest rates are gone up. They just hit 4%. Average rate just hit 4% for the first time in 3 years. So if you have someone who got a pre-approval 90 days ago, guaranteed the interest rate's higher than when they got that approval letter. Have to make sure they're talking to their lender weekly. Don't need to rerun your credit. I just need them to know if interest rates have changed anything about their qualifications. Otherwise, in this increasing interest rate market, you're going to find people with not being able to qualify when it comes down to it.
Hey, Robert.
I am so glad you just said that. The lady I spoke to this morning, we've been looking for a while, and I need to go back and call her now and tell her to let's update that. I didn't
update it. Go back to the lender and say, look, what's changed? I heard interest rates have gone up. Do I still qualify for this amount? Probably not.
Thank you.
I wonder how many buyers procrastinate to say, oh, I got this rate here for 90 days.
Oh, they all the time.
I never really thought about that.
All the time, because they think I have this. Well, a lot. You'd be surprised how many buyers and real estate agents think that when they got a pre-approval letter, everything's locked in. Rates locked, all that stuff's locked in. It's not. It's just you're pre-approved. When they give a pre-approval letter, it means at this very moment, at 1:04 p.m. on February 16th, you qualify for this. Now, if the rate goes up at 1:05, you no longer qualify for this at 1:05 p.m. That's what a pre-approval letter is. So to Miguel's point, sometimes a buyer will think, well, I have 90 days. I'm good. They're not thinking about the changes that could happen in that time frame that could affect their pre-approval letter. Now, it could be good or bad. What if they got a pay raise? What if they got more money? What if they inherited some money? You never know. Michael, go ahead.
Yeah, just a question. Just based on your experience, now representing a buyer and an offer, would you recommend to put a cap on the interest rates on the offer, or just leave it open, because that will, the way the rates are going up, also can cause a problem in the future? So will you recommend on the offer to put a cap or not?
I wouldn't. I mean, I don't think it really makes a difference. I think you just never know. I mean, I don't think rates aren't going to shoot up crazy to where the offers, by the time the offer's going through, that it's going to make a change. But I mean, unless you know for a fact that if it goes up 1/8 of a percent or 1/4 percent that the client's not going to qualify, then I guess you'd have to put that in there. But, you know, it's so hard to get an offer accepted for a buyer. I would try to limit as many different things, even though cap rate's probably not a big deal to a listing agent. I would just not put much on there.
Robert, one quick question while we're on this topic, since you just brought this up. In an effort to be, I guess, like we were talking about the other day, ahead, or, you know, instead of my client calling me, maybe I should call them. So should I call the lender and see if they are showing the same new interest rate of 4?
No,
Since
the interest rate's higher. It's whether it's 4 or whatever it is, the interest rate's higher than it was 90 days ago. So call the client directly and say, get to your lender and get requalified. Because what you risk happening is the lender being nonchalant. Yeah, they're fine. They actually had some room anyways. They were at like 40% debt to income ratio. They're fine. And it's like, okay, great. You're very nonchalant about it. I want them to go get it done. So, but if the client pushes the lender, then the lender will do it.
Even if this is our lender. Well, I shouldn't say our lender, but.
Yeah, I would always have the client involved.
All right, cool.
Yep.
Thank you.
Good stuff. Any other questions? All right. All right, that was just the beginning portions of working with buyers. You know, that's just going through the consultation. After the consultation, there's stuff on showings and how to different steps on when you're showing a property to make the best out of the showing, get them to write up offers, things along those lines. So maybe next Wednesday we'll do the second part of this and wrap this up. But hopefully there was 1 or 2 things in there that were valuable for you today.
Oh, absolutely.
Here we go.